PrinceWilliamLife.com radio. News and info about Prince William County, Virginia.
So I'd like to introduce my guest to you today, Nancy Berlin from the Virginia Cooperative Extension program, right?
Correct.
And Thomas Bolles from the Best Lawns program?
Yes.
And that's part of the Prince William Soil and Conservation District, or not?
Virginia Cooperative Extension.
Oh, okay, so both. That's why they make pens with extra ink so we can keep up with us. Well, how are y'all doing today?
Good.
Very good.
So, originally this whole conversation started out because I was on Facebook talking about walking around in the rain dropping fertilizer, Scott's, it says spring lawn preparation, yada yada. And it says apply when wet, so it rained on Sunday and I was out there. But you, Nancy, you made a comment about I really should have done that back in the fall.
Fall is the best time to fertilize. It allows the soil to use it and the roots to develop before the winter comes. So it makes a good strong root system for a healthier turf.
Well, we have lots of things growing, and I feel really bad about killing the dandelions because for many years we had rabbits, and the rabbits absolutely loved the dandelions. We would go through the yard each day, collect them, cut off the tops, and feed 15, 20 dandelions to the rabbits, and they were like, yes, 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 and it was free food, and it was pretty. I think it was pretty. My neighbors didn't like it, and we got some other crazy stuff growing. But so let me ask you, perhaps from a homeowner's perspective of having green grass growing, it all looks green to me, but what does it do to the environment? Is there a difference between fertilizing in the spring and the fall on the environment?
It's more efficient to fertilize in the fall just because that's when most of the root growth takes place. But when you fertilize in the spring, that's just feeding the top growth, and that means more mowing for you in the long run. And so to avoid a lot more mowing and to have healthier turf, the better time to do it is in the fall. And that's kind of contrary to what most of the products that are out say.
Sure, because I bought Scott's spring lawn growth or product or
and there are parts of the country where that's just fine, but unfortunately it's not our part.
It's not our part? So the Virginia clay doesn't like it, or what about our part of the country?
The way that the typical grasses that we have in Northern Virginia grow, they do best when they're fertilized in the fall. As Nancy said, they tend to put more root growth in, and it's that root growth because they're cool season grasses that are going to help them survive into or through the droughts of the summer. You're going to end up with a lot of top growth in this if you fertilize in the spring, more mowing. It also opens up the door to more disease the potential anyway for more disease problems.
Why? Because the grass kind of fertilizes too quickly, and it because I see a lot of fertilizer burns throughout the neighborhood.
Well, that's usually when you've applied too much. But typically, what happens even when you apply the correct amount for the spring, you end up getting a lot of tender growth that doesn't really have a chance to harden off as it gets into hot and humid weather, and that's susceptible to invasion by fungus. And then if you don't have your mower blade sharp, that creates more of a tear rather than a clean cut, and that just makes it all the more likely that you're going to have problems.
Okay. Well, now you should know about this because my notes say that you manage the Best Lawns program. What is the Best Lawns program?
It's our program. It's BEST actually stands for Building Environmentally Sustainable Turf, and it's looking at turf in kind of a way where the problem with turf in our area is we can grow lots of different types of grasses, but we don't grow them well just because of where we are climatically. And so this program tries to help homeowners find that happy medium of greenness. Doesn't have to be that pristine, but so that they're minimizing their inputs and still getting a decent lawn. We try and help homeowners with different situations where grass might not be the most appropriate thing. There's some older neighborhoods where there are a lot of trees where grass just doesn't work. And so we provide alternative ground suggestions for different ground covers that might be usable.
Okay. Now when you say you help homeowners, how does that actually work? Do you have like a 1-800 I think I killed my lawn or
Well, we sort of, in the sense that the Extension Office has a horticultural helpline, which anybody can call about plant questions, animal questions, insects, what am I forgetting?
Wildlife.
Wildlife, we get a lot of wildlife questions. But the Best Loans program itself, there's an application which you can get online on the county website. And for $25, we send a master gardener out who will not only take soil samples of your yard to have a better understanding of what actual fertilizers you might need and if you need any lime, but they'll also measure it so that when you figure out what you need, you know how much to apply. One of the problems with getting a bag of Scots, and I don't want to single them out, but you know, if you go to the store, you get a bag of Scots, it says this covers up to 5,000 square feet. Well, if you don't have 5,000 square feet, you're putting too much down. If you have more than 5,000 square feet,
not enough.
Not enough. So this is trying to help people get a balance of putting down just what they need and not over-fertilizing and not under-fertilizing.
Okay. Well, you mentioned master gardeners, and I actually drink coffee with one master gardener, Al Alborn, on a regular basis. But I understand that there are, approximately 170 some master gardeners here in Prince William?
Correct, and they're environmental educators that take research-based information from Virginia Tech and Virginia State University primarily, and they go into the community and they serve the community through the Best Lawns program, but in a myriad of other ways too.
Now, I heard that you're kind of the guardian angel of the master gardeners. Are kind of like you coordinate their,
I try.
You try. Okay, so what all is involved in that?
Well, we have such a diverse group of people with so many different skills. Some are retired and they come with their professional background, and some act as webmasters, and some like Al get in the community and help with Audubon evaluations of people's property for wildlife value. But there's a myriad of other ways. We have a high school senior up to a 92-year-old woman in the program. And there are about 175 volunteers, and they contribute about 16,000 to 17,000 hours a year to the community.
And they're all volunteers,
They're
right?
all volunteers, and that's about 7 to 8 full-time employees that the county's benefiting from, and they only have to pay my salary.
Right.
So they serve at clinics, at farmers markets, answering plant insect disease questions, wildlife questions. They serve at local garden centers. And they also serve in the Best Lawns program, but we have a teaching garden at the Benedictine Monastery.
And I vote for it almost every day.
Yay! And we want everybody to vote every day through August 6th for our teaching garden to win an award. We have about 28 garden beds out there that we use as an outdoor classroom. And
now, when you say
people.
teaching garden, and there are some nice videos of it on the web and, of course, the website and all, who exactly is it that you're teaching? I mean, can someone show up at the front lawn and go, "You won't believe how bad I am. I need help"?
We have a lot of that.
Really?
But we have a lot of visitors that just drop by. Because it is a public garden, we just ask that they check in the monastery office.
Okay.
But we have monthly programs, April through October, where we teach outdoor classes. And it usually involves a short lecture and then a walk around and hands-on type of training. This is how you divide perennials. This is how you prune a red twig dogwood. So it's taking the information that's research-based, but it's putting it in action, because there's some fear that people have about taking the information and actually doing it in their own lawn or garden.
Well, once you lop something off, it could take years for it to grow back. Or to grow up. Although I have one tree I've been trying to kill for about 15 years, and it's very light wood. It's almost like a willow. It has a leaf of about this. It's not really long. I grew up with southern willows. It's not a weeping willow tree, and it gets in between the cracks in my car doors and everything else. It's right by, and it is just an annoying. I've tried to kill it several times. It is resistant to everything.
Ailanthus. It sounds like one of the invasive trees that we see a lot of. Yeah.
Well, when we bought the home, the developer had put it there, and it definitely is. It's hanging tough. So, Thomas, how did you get into this? I mean, did you wake up one day and when you were 5 years old, you said, fire engines are cool, but I'd rather be with the plants?
Wow, long story. I kind of was interested in plants when I was younger, but my background is I used to teach agriculture, and I actually went through the Master Gardener program, and they had an opening, and it just sort of fit in. Up until I started this, I was convinced, and I'm still not terribly convinced. I wasn't right in the beginning that grass is a big waste of space that you could use for vegetables or flowers, but it's been a really rewarding experience. I sort of fell into it and
Okay, well, how long have you been a master gardener?
3 years.
3 years? Okay.
And we're glad he did.
Well, I have, so I'm going to follow up on one of the comments you made. So I have a friend, she's very active in a group in Tennessee called Sustainable Chattanooga. And they are trying to get various laws changed, etc. Because she actually she refuses to grow grass in her yard. Instead, she has planted gardens all around her home. But mostly not flower gardens. She probably wouldn't be in trouble for that. She has planted food gardens, and the city of Chattanooga keeps trying to shut down her yard as a public nuisance and something that encourages. So in Prince William, if I were to stick a bed of potatoes out in my front yard, what would happen?
Depends. First of all, it would depend on your HOA.
Okay.
They're usually the villains in this situation.
No, I know but they have special rules.
They have special rules. Generally, the county, my understanding is they don't care as long as it looks neat and kept.
Okay.
If
Because I know, it's 11 inches or the 13-inch rule for stuff growing in your yard, and then the county can come in and cut it and send you the bill?
Yeah, but
So, got to grow short vegetables, right?
Well, as long as it's kept, because I don't, as you were saying in an earlier segment, who's going to pay for it? I think if it's kept well and you're on good terms with your neighbors, the county's not going to waste resources going and cutting down your potatoes. Though they could, I suppose. But usually it's HOAs where there's a problem.
Okay.
Because there are issues with people who don't like grass or love clover in their grass, for example. And there are some HOAs in the county that have outlawed clover.
Yeah, I feel bad. I know the Scots is going to attack the clover, and I think clover is cool. But, it's right there next to the dandelions, and my next-door neighbor, he's not... Really, I only try to keep care of my lawn more nicely because of my next-door neighbor. He looks like he has he's going for the lawn of the month contest every month, and I feel bad if I'm not out killing something in my own lawn to try to keep up.
Well, up until the 70s, clover was considered an integral part of the lawn because clover provides nitrogen and reduces the amount of...
Sure, and it's got great cover.
Yeah, it's
it
nice.
lasts.
My lawn is clover. I planted it this year.
I think that clover, to me, I like clover because, again, vegetables are my background, and it provides, especially early in the spring, a haven for bees. It's an early nectar source.
Does clover have flowers?
Yes.
Really?
It's
I don't think I've ever seen flower.
It's the main nectar source for honeybees, which are in decline. So
Yeah.
anything that we can do, and I don't have to fertilize it because it fixes nitrogen in its roots and it distributes.
Yeah, it seems like it grows quite well on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, no. So you say vegetables are in your background.
Yes.
How were you a farmer or gardener?
Mostly gardening, and when I was teaching, I taught a lot of horticulture and focused primarily on the vegetable side of things.
Okay. Now I think I've seen at least maybe your name, Nancy, associated with the farmers market.
Mm-hmm.
Is this an official function of the Virginia Cooperative, or is this something like you just like to live at the farmer's garden? Farmer's garden, farmer's market. Why don't you tell us a bit about that? Because we love the farmer's market,
Yes.
and I know there's some argument as to what can be sold in a farmer's market as
It's
well.
a producer's market, so
Right.
they have to. But Master Gardener volunteers go on Thursdays and Sundays, and generous vendors donate what they don't sell. And Master Gardeners use their own vehicles and their own muscles to haul that from the vendor spot to Axe and Serve, and last year we provided about 90,000 pounds of fresh produce for the residents and the food pantries of Axe and Serve. And that was through the muscle and the determination of Master Gardener volunteers. But we've also been aided by Lake Ridge Lions and Tony Reyes Group, and they have been integral, and also Vulcan Quarry has sent some strong guys over there with their trucks. So we run that. We just started 2 weeks ago. We did it last Sunday in the rain, and we got 94 loaves of bread and a whole truckload of greens to take over.
Yeah, for people who think of a farmer's market as pretty much vegetables, I actually go to the Dale City's farmer market every chance, because there are usually 2 to 3 small home bakeries of with just incredible bread to be gotten there, and yeah, so I like it for the bread. And they have popcorn. You can get the big kettle corn. My wife says, calories, please eat the apples, which I do. I like the apples too, but the kettle corn is great. So is there a particular farmer's market, or do you kind of graze them all here in Prince William County?
Right now we're just at the Thursday market in Manassas and the Sunday market in Dale City. And we collect just what they'll give us. And actually Great Harvest and Bonjour have been the two bread dealers were very generous to us just this past week.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, it's very good for the community. And,
yes.
And obviously when you have perishables, you want to make sure that they get used quickly, especially for those that grow things. You know, you're out there replenishing your own stocks every 2 to 3 days,
and vegetables are hard to afford for low-income families, and they're so necessary. We also have a nutrition agent with Virginia Cooperative Extension that helps with recipes, and they do some cooking demonstrations over there. So taking that eggplant that the resident might not know how to use, and actually training them to eat healthier by using that.
And definitely eggplant is something that should be on everyone's plate.
Yes.
And if you don't want to eat it, bring it to me. Call me, I'll be at your house. Yeah, I love eggplant. Do we have farmers in Prince William County anymore?
Yes, we have a dairy, and we have.
Well, I know is you drive down the Prince William Parkway, just as you hit Liberia, it looks like there was a dairy once upon a time. I don't know if there still is.
There's still two active dairies, and then Jay Yankees Farm is a CSA, community supported agriculture, and there's a couple other ones too.
A couple other ones. There are a few beef operations. They're
Alpaca.
They're mostly out towards Noakesville and then out towards Bull Run Mountain.
Okay.
But yeah, especially if you're on this side of the county, it's hard to see a farm.
Yeah, here in central and eastern Prince William, we have the remnants of barns and things that you could tell. And so I'm a resident of the county from 1995 onward, but I know folks that have lived here for quite a while who say, you know, prior to 1990, we barely even had supermarkets and a hospital here in Prince William, and so I guess farming was a way of life. Agriculture was a big way of life for a long time.
Our extension agent, Paige Thacker, she's a horticulture agent, but she also serves the agricultural community. She's organized some beginning farmer workshops to get people, give people the confidence to start. You know, there's a mushroom grower that, you know, gives to some of the high-end supermarkets,
Right.
But we're also running a profitable greenhouse production seminar in May 15th.
Okay.
So that
And where would that be?
that's at the old courthouse in Manassas City.
All right.
And we're hoping, you know, to encourage agriculture. You know, people have smaller plots of land now, but they still want to use it productively, and so we want to
Sure.
encourage those producers.
Well, I know one of the first things we did when we moved here into Prince William County is we started a garden. And the garden really is only about 15 feet by 15 feet. But we grow an enormous amount of food just in that small space each year.
Good for you.
And yeah, my favorite is spaghetti squash, which grows quite well and without me being able to kill it. So what other events do you have coming up where people can learn more or participate or be able to help out in their community?
We have Saturday in the Garden programs at the Teaching Garden.
Okay.
And they're coming up. May 19th, we have put out the welcome mat for pollinators, a way to encourage pollinators because people bring us
Bumblebees, right?
Well,
or other things.
wasps, beetles, hummingbirds, butterflies,
Occasionally flies.
A lot of different beneficial insects pollinate, and a lot of people bring us their plants and they have a shriveled flower because it was never pollinated. So encouraging pollinators in your own garden, that will be for May 19th. We also have a children's program there that we teach kids how to attract a hummingbird to their garden. And we're also going to have a class on rain barrels and how to harvest rainwater on your own property and use that for your garden or a bird bath or whatever you need it for.
Okay. That's, but the pollinators, so, because I'm sure a lot of people only think about bumblebees.
Right.
And so what are some tips where people can encourage pollinators? You know, I want them to go to the seminar, but what are some things that they can do to encourage pollinators? That's kind of a cool word after all. And do, you know, what can they do right now?
Well, you know, the best kind of flower for a pollinator is one that's shaped like an umbrella, and you'll find it in botanical terms as an umbel, like a Queen Anne's lace or an aster or a carrot or a dill. And any of those that look like a little umbrella would have a good landing pad for a pollinator. So that's the first line of, even a dandelion. Dandelion, about 93 different insects use a dandelion, and some of them pollinators.
Oh gosh, I really feel bad now.
You should.
I just murdered like 400 dandelions.
It's kind of a shift in thinking, you know.
Right.
Why am I paying all this money for this yellow flower at the garden center when I have these yellow flowers in
Or
my
I could
yard?
turn it into tea.
That's right, or you could eat it, yeah.
Yeah, you could eat it. I know there's dandelion soup in my. So my wife is Japanese, and we have a big elephant ear growing by our front door. And my father-in-law came to visit once, and he kept eyeing the elephant ear. And so I asked my wife, why is he so interested in the elephant ear? And she says, well, he wants to turn it into a soup.
That's cute.
It's like, oh, no. Tell him it's ornamental, and it best be there when I get home from work. But, yeah, there's so many things you can eat. So I've got a question. So I brewed beer for many years. I don't at the moment. But I've noticed, and I don't know where it came from, over the last 2 to 3 years, I swear that I see hops growing out in my yard.
There is a wild hops.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it's a
sometimes
very
it's-
beautiful hops. It has a nice head on it, a nice flower, and
That's good for bees. And sometimes it's mixed in, you know, as the inert matter or extra waste matter in seed, or it could be brought in by a bird, or
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I never saw them until about 2 to 3 years ago, and it was long after I quit brewing beer.
Darn.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the store-bought stuff when I have that, and that's only upon occasion now. But yeah, I started seeing hops grow all over the place, which weren't there when we were originally there, or first moved in. So, you know, we've talked about a number of things. What is the easiest way for citizens to contact the Virginia Cooperative Extension?
Well, probably our Extension Horticulture Help Desk, and that's 703-792-7747. Or you can Google Master Gardeners of Prince William, or we have an email, master_gardener@pwcgov.org.
Okay.
So either of those ways, you can look at the county website and put in the search box Master Gardeners or Saturday in the Garden or Best Lawns, and you can find us that way too.
Now, you're called Virginia Cooperative Extension, but you're with Prince William County. So is this a statewide program, or how does that work?
The Extension Service was set up, what was it?
1865?
Well, 1865 was the land grant
Yeah.
act that gave states, basically state schools, state universities. The Extension Service was set up in the early part of the 1900s to take that knowledge that had been developed in the research farms and the research centers at the universities, and to take that out to the general public. Here in Virginia, Cooperative Extension serves all the counties and cities. We're Prince William Cooperative Extension, but we also serve the towns in the county as well as Manassas and Manassas Park. And so we work closely with our community. Extension is supposed to work with its local governments. Some of the local governments provide some of the funding, some of it's state money. And so we're very fortunate that we have office space and support from the county.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, some of our positions are county funded, some of them are state funded, some of them are grant funded.
Now, as we get into May and June, the hot weather will come soon enough in June. What are some of the things that should people really be thinking about, since we're going to see a great deal of change from the one day hot, one day really cold here in April, and where May gets fairly dependable, and then you never know how June will turn out. What should people be thinking about when it comes to the environment, their lawn, or other things here in the Prince William area?
Well, I think watering is probably the first thing that comes to mind, and if they're establishing new plants or new trees or shrubs, they need an inch of water a week, which is a substantial amount just to get established. And most native plants tend to do fine after that first year if you establish them well. Turf, on the other hand, I'll let Thomas talk about that, watering turf.
You mean where people come in, dig up their lawn, and now bring in a big truck of turf and lay it out like a carpet?
Well, turf or just grass in general.
Okay.
Or just watering.
To put down by sod or what have you. Most of our turf really doesn't need to be watered. It kind of depends on what you're going for, but most of the grass that is in lawns in our area is cool season, and it naturally goes dormant. And so it gets a little yellow, and for the most part it can survive on its own throughout the summer, especially if it was fertilized the previous fall and has a good root system.
Yeah, I know, I'm 6 months late. I'll get it right next year, though.
The other thing you can do really is stop mowing as close. If you mow as high as you possibly can, it's amazing how much just a half an inch of turf will do. Every little half inch counts when it comes to lowering that soil temperature, which will reduce the evaporation of the water out of the soil.
And you recommend not bagging what you cut, but letting it fall back onto the land, right? And to blend in,
Yes.
provide kind of a natural cover.
Actually, nitrogen.
You can get
Okay.
about, depending on your grass, you can get about a half a pound to a pound of nitrogen over the course of the year just by recycling those grass clippings.
Okay, so my neighbor who has this beautiful yard, every year he has a truck pull up and drop off a couple 100 pounds of lime. What does lime do?
Lime affects the pH.
Okay.
And depending on the plant and the pH has to be in a certain range for that plant to be able to absorb certain nutrients. And so if your pH is really low, a lot of times the major nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, are difficult, particularly for grass, but for a number of plants to be able to uptake. On the flip side, if your pH is too high, you run into problems with metals toxicities killing those plants.
And the metal toxicities come from where? As really,
It's
it's just naturally in the soil?
Yeah, it's
Because
typically-
clay has a lot of iron in it, right? Which
It's
gives
the
it its
iron
color.
and the iron and the aluminum that's in the clay tends to become more available to plants. They take it up and they don't do so well.
Is there a simple test that someone can do on their lawn?
On any of their garden beds or their lawn, yeah. We have soil test kits at our office, and it has instructions on it. You can pick them up at Chin Library also. And $10, you get that soil will be put through its paces at Virginia Tech in their lab.
Oh,
and
okay.
People pick up the kit from us and then send it to Virginia Tech themselves. We get a copy of the results at our office, and the resident gets a copy, but we can help them interpret it. Or if they're in our Best Lawns program, we give them a step-by-step personalized nutrient plan for their lawn. How much fertilizer, how much lime they need, exactly when they should put it down, even how many bags they have to buy, right?
Well, I've got one last question here. Now, aeration I know is important for many things. With this Virginia clay, which can get as hard as rock as soon as summer comes, how important is aeration if someone has like a clay yard? I mean, does that really help, or?
There's some debate. Traditional thinking is that, yeah, you should aerate every year. As we're more research is coming online, especially from the farm side of things. We're finding that adding organic matter does a better job long-term of keeping the soil from being compacted.
So the grass cuttings letting it naturally fall?
And
That,
composting.
adding
And composting.
Yeah, because the big problem that we have in developed areas is most of the soil that has organic matter in gets scraped off, and so you're left with stuff that has very little organic matter, and it's easy to compress into a brick. But by adding compost and by letting your grass clippings fall,
It makes it looser, unable. Yeah.
and it becomes a little bit spongy too, which helps with the water retention when it's dry, and it also helps create channels for the water to drain when it's excessively wet as well.
Good soil's about 50% air.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to thank you for coming out today. And as you have public programs, in fact, perhaps I've already told Josh was with me right before this, perhaps we can have some of our guys come out with cameras and be able to kind of
Right.
film some of the classes and all that you teach, and
Great.
let more people know that you exist.
Thank you.
And we mentioned Al Alborn earlier.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, and he lives for this stuff all the time.
He has been such an advocate for us and such a great volunteer. He comes with such a pack of skills, really. Amazing.
And I want to give a thank you to Connie Moser, because it was
Yes.
Connie Moser and her Facebook notes that got me involved and got me to meet you. So I want to thank you for coming
Sure.
out today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And this is Bill Golden with another edition of PrinceWilliamLife.com. We look forward to seeing you next week. And as always, if you have a story that you want the community to learn about, to know about, we're here. We don't care what the topic is, except that it has to be about Prince William County, Virginia. Thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.